Did it do it? Okay, it did.
Now batting for the Reds, number 44, the shortstop, Ballentine.
Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. It is Monday at 7 p.m.-ish, and we are live. Ricky could not be here. His family is not feeling so great, so prayers for him to recover quickly with all that stuff that's going around in winter and whatnot. It's nasty. My family was sick last weekend, so I guess it's Ricky's turn this week. So, but in his absence, we got two of the best guys that we got to talk about Reds baseball. Please welcome to the show, Mike Ballentine and Sirboywonder. So, thank you guys for stepping in the breach and filling in for Ricky. Mike, how have you been?
Hey, buddy, I'm great. I mean, I came really close to going to the first workout today, but I decided since it was a holiday and everything else that I didn't want to really fight those people. So I was like, nah, I'll stay at home. And I started working on my cards. So I just started putting things in piles so I can get things autographed. So that's where we're at right at the moment, but doing great out here in Arizona.
Awesome. And Sirboy?
Long off season, or at least it feels like it's been a lifetime, but no, it's exciting. It's glad to see the guys get back and kick off another year of Reds baseball.
Yep. Like Mike mentioned, in Arizona, it is the first official team workout today. There was a bunch of guys that reported and were doing extra stuff. I wonder, I don't know, this is probably just a small tangent, and Mike, you might know better since you're located there near the spring training complexes. Does anybody show up late anymore? Like, I just finished the Ricky Henderson book, and he said that he would show up to spring training late like every single year after he like started becoming Ricky. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's not a thing anymore. Like, you show up early, that's like on time, and on time is late.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can gather, everybody's here. Excuse me. I've seen pictures and it's going to sound really crazy, but I know a lot of their cars. I know it sounds like stalkerish, but I pretty much know who's there when I pull in. I haven't seen anybody that looks like they're not there. I mean, Ellie's already there. Suarez has been there for like 4 or 5 days, and a lot of these guys have been there since right after Valentine's Day, which I guess it is right after Valentine's Day, but they actually came out before Valentine's Day. A lot of them went out to eat and did all kinds of stuff. I saw where, pictures were popping up of them and people around here were trying to get pictures of them. And it's like, we'll talk about the cars for a second. There's a lot of guys that will stand in the parking lot. If you guys have ever been to spring training, Sirboy here's laughing at us.
No, I know that feeling, Mike. Trust me. From
they'll
someone who used to
stand
go to
in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
And try to crowd them as they leave. They'll step in front of their cars and do all kinds of crazy crap just for an autograph. I mean, I love my autographs. If you could see the room around me, it's full of them. I've probably got an easy 300 of them in this room, but I have never and will never go over to those parking lots. I won't go up to people when they're out to eat. I mean, I'll see them and if I'm with my wife, I'll be like, I know who that is, and that's really cool, but I'm not going over to them. That's their private time with their family and stuff. And I guess one of the big things I want to say to everybody is I hope that you guys respect their privacy and stuff like that. So give them their space, and they'll be more apt to sign for us when we go on the backfields with them and during these spring training games and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever been down there, Sirboy, or?
Never been to Goodyear, and actually, now that my car payment's almost done here in about another year from now, I'm hoping to make it out there here in the next couple of years because people tell me it's fantastic. It's one of the best. If you love baseball, you got to get out to Goodyear, Arizona. Which, trust me, that's on my bucket list to go see. But no, or like Mike was talking about, I know all about the whole cars and everything because when I used to do the garage, not gonna lie, I used to be one of those people. Now, I don't go to never went to hotels and did all that other stuff that everyone else does. But you need a couple buddies, we'd go to the garage and just hang out. And guys stop, great. If not, no big deal. But yeah, I know that feeling though.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I saw a little bit of that at Reds Fest. Some of the autograph Hawks guys just like waiting and
Oh yeah,
like as soon as they get off the stage and what have you and whatnot and everything. So it can definitely get chaotic for these guys that are just trying to. Well, right now they're trying to do their jobs. At Reds Fest, I guess it's a little bit okay because they're there to be seen.
I agree with Mike though. If they're out and about with their families, that they should not be. No one should be walking up to them asking for autographs or photos or whatnot. But if you're down the first or third base line during batting practice, 15 minutes before, I think that's fair game. But yeah, like I said, I don't do the garage and all that stuff anymore because, quite frankly, it just got to the point where it wasn't worth it. Guys just don't stop like they used to, and they don't even let you stand in the actual garage. You actually have to stand out on the street now, to where it's not advantageous for them to stop because they can't even just pull up and you go over and walk up to their cars to get whatever you want signed. So it is what it is. Like I said, though, but I agree. I never got into the whole going to hotels. I always thought that was silly to begin with, but I agree with you. And I can only imagine. Now, how is it out there when you guys are doing all that stuff? Is it pretty relaxed, like when you're in the complex? Just guys walking. I know guys just walk back and forth to each practice field or whatever, but can you kind of give me some idea what that's like?
I can give you the idea. COVID changed everything.
Really?
Yeah. We used to be able to walk right up to where they would walk from the batting cages right over to where they would take practice at when they would throw and there's half diamonds out there where just the infielders go. So again, I'm going to sound a little stalkerish here, and I guess I kind of am, but I understand where people are going to go to, what time everything happens now. Like I know what time to get there. I know what time they eat. So I can stand there, and I'm always very nice to them. I've never like, get your butt over here and sign this for me or anything like that. It's always,
I know them people.
It's right. There are people out there that do that, and then they ruin it for everybody else. And then you just want to crack them in the face. But it's like, say something to them, be nice about it. And Ricky, I just called you Ricky, Roger. I'm sorry, buddy. Roger's in the middle, just like, I don't know what's good. But, call them by their first name, right? And hey, can you please come over and sign for me? And if they say no, you say, okay, well, I've done it several times where it's like, okay, well, have a good season. I hope to see you on the cover of Sports Illustrated, or I'll say something like that, right? And then they'll stop, and it's, daggone it, he was way too nice. So then I've had them sometimes where they'd come over just because you're that nice, and they've actually come over and they'll sign with you. There's different ways to do it. I always let the kids get up there first and let them get their stuff.
Yes.
And then, to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, if they see me like blocking off the rest of the adults that try to get up there, because I'm a decent sized guy, right? So I'll just block everybody off. And towards the end, I have everything ready on a clipboard pen. The end of it's already. So all they literally have to do is grab the clipboard, pull the pen off of it, and sign, and then hand it right back to me. So it's the ease at which you make it better for them, because that's what they want. They want to be able to come, sign a few autographs, and go on with their day. So
yeah, well, speaking of guys showing up and reporting to camp, a guy that probably reported a lot happier than he did before the arbitration hearing was a Mr. Ty Steve, and that news broke I think Monday or Tuesday, because I believe the hearing was on Monday for his kind of a bit of a minimal amount. I think $250,000 we're talking about, but that's got to mean something to him, because he's obviously was willing to go to the arbitration hearing to have that reviewed by the third party, and he won his case, I guess is the thing. And Ty Steve is probably reporting to camp a little bit happier than he would have if he lost his case. I'll go to you, Mike. What were your thoughts when this happened? Was this kind of expected? I mean, it wasn't schoolball type numbers, but Ty Steve wanted to get his 6.8, I believe, million. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because I don't know how he can be happy right now. In the grand scheme of things, you're arguing over $200,000 or $250,000, right? Which to you and I is a lot of money, but to everybody that they're arguing, whether it be the team or the player, that's nothing. Here's what I don't like. So now they're going to go with this 2-catcher tandem, right? And if you look at stats, which, I know, Roger, I'm a big stats guy. He was only in 88 games this past season, 342 plate appearances. The years prior were 517 appearances and 515 appearances. And this past year, only 342. So they want him to take a secondary role. I mean, he's still catcher number 1, but now he's got Trevino there, who's number B, right? He's catcher B. And they're going to take away all these at-bats from him, and they're going to take away stuff, where he only got 40 runs, 69 hits last year, 18 doubles, no triples, and 13 home runs. He only had 50 RBIs last year. And you're going to take a guy and cut his workload. And then after you do that, you go to him, I assume, and you say, hey, Steve, this is what's best for you. This is what's best for our team. So we're hoping that you take this pay cut, or not pay cut, but this playing time cut for us, right? And then after that's all said and done, he says, yes, okay, great, I'll do that. I understand what you guys are trying to do. Then after all of that, they squabble over $250,000. If my job tells me, hey, I want you to do this and I want you to do that because that's what's going to be best for the company as a whole, and then afterward, when you're promised and your raise is coming, and now you want to squabble over the raise that you're supposed to get after you have agreed to be the team guy, right? I'm not going to be happy, and I honestly can't see how Tyler Stephenson's happy right now.
So, what are your thoughts on his arbitration case and on his role in the team?
It seems like this is it for him. That was the vibe that I got from this whole fight through arbitration between the Reds and Tyler Stephenson. It just seems like there is going to be a parting of the ways. In grand scheme of things, it seems like they're just waiting for Alfredo Duno at this point to take over that spot. And I think they're willing to roll with Trevino or whoever the next couple of years until Alfredo gets there. But that was just the vibe I got from the whole fight back and forth over, what was it, 250,000 or whatever. It just seems like that they've been trying, or I don't know what the contract negotiations have been when it comes to an extension between the two sides. I don't know if they've ever had talks about it. I know they've had it with McLean, but I don't know about him. It just seems like that this is it for him. And I just don't think, unless he has, even if he has a monster year where he's hitting 250, 260 with 25 home runs, 80 guys driven in, it just seems like that they just don't view him the same as they did when they brought him in with their first pick in 2015. So yeah. It just seems like this is probably it for him, and they're going to just part ways at the end of the year and let him try free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think that is well echoed. There was a report, I think either Ricky wrote on it at Sports Illustrated or one of his coworkers, that pitchers and catchers reported 7 days ago, right? Like they've already been in camp working through things and whatnot. I think someone had asked him at camp this past week, has there been any talks of extension? And he said there hasn't been anything since this time last year. So like there's been no movement in terms of getting extension done. Ricky and I have talked about this a lot on this channel in terms of like his control, his years of control butt up right up into the CBA. And I don't know if that's the biggest factor in terms of like not extending him because they're not sure exactly what baseball is going to look like in 2027, or they just, like you guys have been kind of saying, they don't really value him because they're willing to fight over $250,000 instead of just giving him that money right away. And also it's the other fact that they did extend Trevino. They gave him 3 years. They didn't have that type of talk. They're not even in discussions of that type of talk. So yeah. And also my kind of like little rule of thumb with catchers now is like, they're like the running backs of the MLB. Like they're not valued as much. If they have great production, great, but their careers don't last as long because of injuries or just the wear and tear of just, catching day in, day out can be just something that you rarely see, like the Salvador Perez's out there. You know what I mean? Even one of the best catchers of his career, Buster Posey, was, his career was kind of cut short by injuries. So like it's not a position that you see 17 years playing the same thing, unless they transition like, Joe Mauer played first base, right, in the last 4 or 5 years.
Buster Posey.
So yeah, and Buster Posey as well did. So like it's that kind of thing where I think you're right. Duneau's the next guy. What will be the indication is where do they assign him? Is he going to be in Chattanooga? Because if that's the case, he's only a couple steps away. But if he's back in Dayton, I don't know. Or I guess,
I can't see him being in Chattanooga. Look, I think he's going to be great and all. I just don't think he's going to be in Chattanooga, especially after being down in Daytona for the whole year last year. I feel like if he would have gotten moved up early, like in June or July to Dayton, then we're probably sitting here saying, okay, he's probably going to start this year in Chattanooga. But I don't think that'll be the case. I think they're going to take their time with him. And that's why I said multiple years down the road that they're waiting on him. And it wouldn't be surprising if they gave another year, 2 years for Trevino, depending on how it goes this year and next year, just to bridge the stopgap between whenever Duno gets up here. But who knows? Maybe he tears it up in Dayton early this year, and then he gets moved up quickly to Chattanooga like Ellie did when he was in Dayton.
Right.
Who knows? It just depends on how he does. But I would be stunned if he's in Chattanooga to start the year, though.
Yeah.
So the Arizona Fall League, right? Duno was in the Arizona Fall League. I watched him several times in the Arizona Fall League this year. He's ready. I mean, I hate to tell both of you. I don't know how much you guys have really seen him. I watched him up close and personal behind home plate. He's ready. I'm sure you've seen the video where he's working out with Salvador Perez, right? I don't think Salvador Perez picks him up and says, okay, come to my camp, let's work out together, if he's not at least close to being ready. So I think Duno is closer to being ready than what you guys think, or at least than what Sirboy thinks. And I'm not trying to, start some argument or anything. What I've seen with my own eyes says that he's more ready than what you guys are saying. I look at him starting off at Chattanooga. And to be honest, I think he'll be in Louisville before the end of the season. But we'll see how.
I would love that. I hope I'm wrong. I love that. That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome.
Then that fixes their issue, basically.
Correct.
Which is great, honestly. Then you're not looking for a stopgap for a couple years, like I was suggesting earlier. Which I would love that if that's the case.
Yeah.
Let's look at Stevenson. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm not looking at you guys. I'm looking at another screen here. So Stevenson's, arbitration was 2024, and he's not a free agent until 2027.
Okay.
Do I think that they'll keep him until that 2027 as far as Stevenson goes? Yes. And then do I expect Duno to step in 2027? Probably so.
I don't know why I kept thinking he was gone after this year, though. My apologies.
No, it's okay. If we have a season in 2027, that's the other.
Isn't I hate to say this, but is it just a matter of time where they're not playing next year?
Or is shortened a lot, which may or may be actually not a great thing for like Duno, because then like the minors will be shut down too. So like there'll be a weird waiting period and whatnot. Yeah, 2027 seems very viable for him to be called up, just to kind of put a pin on that. Any other thoughts on Ty Steve and his arbitration case? Well, it would be awesome if Duno does get called up sooner than later, or is in Chattanooga or Louisville, because he seems to be a ready-made star. And it would have been also awesome if Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo were pitching in the World Baseball Classic. But that was news also that came out this week, that they were approached by Team USA by, I guess, manager Mark DeRosa, but they turned it down. And we also know, obviously, the debacle that happened with Ellie De La Cruz and the World Baseball Classic, somehow being on the Dominican team and then not being on the team, and then they're having a coming together and decision and whatnot. I don't know. My thoughts are really all over the place with this one, because I understand the health factor with both of these guys, right? But I really think, Mike, that this would have been awesome to see Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo pitching for Team USA.
I guess let me go first here, because I don't agree. The first thing that I want is I want the Cincinnati Reds to win their division, and I want the Cincinnati Reds to go to the playoffs. I could care less about the World Baseball Classic. It's in a terrible time spot. it is. I mean, I guess I get it to where, like, I saw the day where, I don't know if you guys have seen or not, Corbin Carroll, who is not going to be able to be in the classic because he broke his hamate bone in his hand, had a customized glove, and he had customized cleats, and he put a picture of him out there today. So it's like, okay, I understand that these guys probably want to be representing their country, and they want to go and they want to get a medal. All of that's fantastic. I get it, and I totally understand it. But here's something else that I want you guys to think about for a second before you say something like, "Oh, this is what I want." Everybody else that's in the Olympics right now trained for like 4 years, and they didn't do anything else. They were basically hidden away, and they trained, whether it be figure skating or curling or whatever else their sport is. They trained for a long, long time, and they don't have anything else to kind of do. The government pays them while they train for 4 years so that they can represent their country in the Olympics. Yet we want our guys to represent our teams and our country. And I just don't think it's fair to them, and I don't think it's fair to the teams itself. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's fair to the three of us as Reds fans, because what happens if one of those guys gets hurt? I mean, I understand it, but I also don't like it all at the same time.
Sirboy?
Oh, I agree with Mike. I can't begin to tell you how much I do not care about the World Baseball Classic. Literally not even on my radar. I am worried about a team that hasn't won the division since before I turned 14.
That was just last year, right?
Yeah, exactly. But and to go, and you were talking about Ellie with the Dominican team. Ellie needs to get to the point where he's hitting 260, 270 right now. I don't need him worrying about what's going on in the World Baseball Classic when he's coming off a torn quad that he played for half of the second half with and did absolutely abysmal for most of it. I'm sorry, but I don't care about the World Baseball Classic and these guys playing in it. I'm more worried about our team right now, because quite frankly, that's what the bottom line should be at this very moment in the beginning of spring training. These guys need to get ready for this season, especially with everything that's on the line with this team, especially with Matt McLean, Ellie De La Cruz, Noel Marte. I mean, you can go right down the line. And now we got Eugenio Suarez in here. We need to get this team gelled together so they're ready to go and to go fight for this division crown that they desperately can take control of with how wide open this division is now.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you, Mike. You said it's at a terrible time. There's no doubt about that.
That's spot on, too.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are trying to ramp up, not go 100% March 5th. You know what I mean? So, one of my takes is move the World Baseball Classic to November after the World Series. And most of the places they played in, Miami, Houston, Japan has a dome. Like, I think they play in the Dominican or Cuba. I forget where they play, somewhere in the Caribbean. But, in November, it's decent weather then. And also, the guys that don't make the playoffs or they get knocked out early, they probably have a little bit more rest time. And most of them are playing, winter leagues, if they're playing Dominican Winter League or Colombian Winter League or wherever, Mexican Pacific League, wherever. So, I'm not exactly sure why they put it in March of all the times. It's kind of an awkward for just the organizations and the players to be like, hey, your team, your country's calling you, but at the same time, my job is to go to spring training, right? Yes. You're supposed to report to your job. You know what I mean? I don't know. It is kind of a conflict there, but I just felt that for Hunter Green and Lodolo, just to get that experience to play with some other guys, superstars like Skubal, Skeens, and Aaron Judge. I don't know. I guess it feels like a lost opportunity, but at the same time, both of those guys have injury issues, so you don't want to make that worse.
Yeah, that's another. You know what I mean?
If
we were sitting here on March 5th and Ellie tears his ACL and is out for the year, are we not losing our minds over that? It's just I don't want that distract. I think, quite frankly, I view it as a distraction, and Yeah, that's just how I view that whole deal. And I know Suarez is going to play in it. Edwin Arroyo, I know he's on the team or whatever, but more likely he's going to be either in Chattanooga or Louisville to start the year. But so we'll see how that goes into play with Suarez when he comes back to big league camp after that's all done. But I want them guys to worry about what they need to worry about for the season that's coming up. So,
number one, the Reds knew that Suarez was going to play before they signed him.
Oh, did that? Okay.
Okay, so they knew that. Secondly, I'm mulling this in my head here a little bit, Roger, when you said at the end of the season. And you know what? If a lot of these teams are out of the race at the end of the season and they know their players are going to go to the World Baseball Classic, I wonder if it would be the opposite. And what I mean by that is, would you give some of those guys some days off towards the end of the season if you knew you weren't really playing for anything and you knew they were going to the World Baseball Classic? I don't want them to give any of these guys days off right now. Spring training is extremely important, whether people realize it or not. You know, spring training, especially for a team like the Reds. Now, look at what the Padres are doing. Have you guys seen the Padres? They've signed like 10 people in the last 4 days, and they're going to get all these guys into camp. We all know not all of them are going to make the team. So they're going to get these guys into camp, and they're going to evaluate them. And the Reds have the same stuff right now, too. We're going to talk about pitching here in a few moments in this rotation. I think that 5th spot in the rotation is completely up for grabs between at least 3 players. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second. And that's what spring training is for. It's not for, oh, well, gee, now we got to go play for our country, or now we got to go do this, or we got to go do that. No, spring training is 30 to 40 days of those guys coming together, working out together, doing infield practice together, being able to have people like Barry Larkin and Eric Davis, who, by the way, are already in camp as well, to give them mentorship and to get them ready for the season. That is extremely important, especially to a young team. Even Terry Francona earlier said that this is a young team, but they can still compete. And if that's the case, then that means this spring training is really vital for this team.
No, for sure. Yeah. Especially, you're right. Like, just getting together as a young team to do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, you know, like I said, report to their jobs. It's just, I don't know. I find it that these guys, especially like a Hunter Green or a Ellie, who have presumably long careers ahead of them still, right? They're still in the early stages of their career, hopefully, that, you know, playing for your country would just be something nice to have on the resume. Obviously, you know, again, the injury issue is always clear and present with, especially not so much Ellie, except for that quad, but the other two that we mentioned, Hunter and Lodolo. But Sirboy, you have any thoughts on this topic before we switch over?
No, I think I pretty much voiced everything about it. Yeah, I view it as a distraction. And Hunter and Ellie and Lodolo, they can do it down the road too. It's not like it's not coming back in 4 years or whenever the next one will be. So
hopefully in 3 years, all 3 of them are still Reds, but we don't know that for sure. So
we don't know if they're all going to be Reds in 1 year.
Well, okay, that's a different show. Right now, we're going to talk about our starting pitching. The guys we just were talking about, Hunter Green and Lodolo and all that. There was a guy, I don't even want to give him any maybe airtime because if you've been on Reds Twitter, you know this guy on ESPN writing about fantasy or betting or whatever it was, whatever the excuse was.
He doesn't believe in Andrew Abbott. That's
saying it like comments and strays like Andrew Abbott's been the luckiest starting pitcher in the last 3 years or whatever. And then also Chase Burns is an injury risk, even though he's barely been up in the majors for less than 50 innings. But anyway, the point being is that he surmised it all that this rotation, this Reds rotation with a weak bullpen, which that's again another stray, but is going to be like a bottom 5 potential rotation. And that lit Reds Twitter on fire because that has obviously been the strongest unit on this ball club for the last 2 years at least, and the starting pitching especially, being able to go out there and you know, Hunter Green's grown into his own, Lodolo, Abbott have grown into their own, and then we got these young guys that we're going to talk about competing for that 5th spot with Williamson coming back from injury, Rhett Lauder coming back from injury, Aguiar coming back from injury, and then, you know, you got the guy Chase Burns, who looks like he's fantastic so far in the first day of official spring training camp. But Mike, I don't know if you saw those comments or you have any thoughts about the bottom 5 comment. But what were your thoughts? What are your thoughts overall, I guess, on this rotation going into 2026?
Well, first of all, I used to write. I'm pretty much over the writing part of it. I'm much, I know I'm ugly and people don't really want to see me, but I like the podcast part better. So I got 2 words for this guy: click bait. Those are the 2 words that I've got for him, right? This is just something that some moron puts out there. And, I don't know who it is, so I don't have to not mention his name. I saw it, laughed, and scrolled right past it. I was like, I ain't even reading this. This is insane. And I think most people who are, we'll call them average fans or above average fans, right, know that that's a stupid thing to say. So why even give it credence? I'm not. I don't like this stuff. And, I think that I'm a more intelligent baseball person than that. Maybe some people will disagree with that watch the shows that we're all on. But, I'll let you guys decide. And what I've decided already is I'm not giving that thing any credence because there's no way in the world that's a true statement.
Fair, yeah. Sirboy.
Nonsense. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's ESPN. I mean, look at who's writing it. We're talking about a company that doesn't give a rat's rear end about baseball. They haven't for almost 15 years now. And I don't care that they had Sunday Night Baseball for as long as they had. For the last 15 years, baseball's been irrelevant to them. So I take it from a company that doesn't give a rat's ass about baseball. So that's how I view it.
Although I will say this, in the media space that we, kind of all swim in and also consume and whatnot, clickbait is a strategy, a business model.
Oh, it is with that company.
Talking about it, so they can at least check that box that people in Cincinnati were clicking on his article. I don't know exactly if it is going to end up being like a thing that we're going to see from this guy a lot more, or maybe this is just a one-off and he just hit the right nerve. But I feel like it's kind of a weird comment if you, like Mike talk about all the statistics. Just looking at the statistics is just mind-blowing. Last year, I think in 2025, the Reds had a 3.83 ERA, which was 9th best in MLB. Batting average against was 235, which is best for 6th best batting average against. They don't strike out a lot of guys, and they give up a lot of homers. And that kind of comes with the territory a bit in Great American Small Park. Like, that's going to kind of happen. We kind of all expect that, being Cincinnati fans, knowing how our ballpark is shaped. But, like, they even were a top 10 innings pitched. And that's not something you can say about Cincinnati Reds pitching staffs every single year. They're not.
It's been an Achilles heel for them for the last 10 years. Whether
it's injuries or it's trading away guys like Luis Castillo and letting go of guys like Cueto and stuff like that, we get into situations where we do get horses, but we don't usually have like enough horses, I guess is the thing. Enough guys to really eat innings so that the bullpen doesn't get stretched out or get in, vulnerable spots where they give up, very, high leverage situations and giving up runs. But anyway, the point being is, like, even if we're going to give this guy a little bit of benefit of the doubt, talking about like they're not going to be as good as they were last year, they're still top half of the league if they regress even a little bit. And they're adding guys that obviously are coming back from Tommy John, and guys that are coming into their second year like Chase Burns, and guys that are going to be like hopefully even stronger in terms of Hunter Green, Lodolo, and Abbott at the top of the rotation. I don't know how you could have any other analysis that they wouldn't be at least top 10. That's what just befuddles me. Is like you don't even have to do that much research. I don't do that much research usually, to be honest with you. Like, I don't dive into the fan graphs every single day. But like, you could just be you do the eye test, right? Cheese's.
That's what I do every game that I watch, and what my eyes tell me, that's one of the best rotations in the league.
Yeah,
and they haven't even hit their peak yet.
Exactly.
Not one guy in that rotation has hit their absolute peak yet, and that's the scary thought.
Yeah, and hopefully they could do that all together in a good 2026 season.
Absolutely.
Mike, any other thoughts about this clickbait?
Any other thoughts? I mean, I could go on for 20 more minutes. So let me just do this. Okay, let me give you like the four minute or so spiel real quick, right? So here's what I did. and kind of preparing for this. I didn't know I was doing this till about an hour before we came on the air, right? So I was like scrambling and like, oh, snot, what do I look up, right? So I had kind of forgot about this guy and how we were going to do all this and everything else. So this is what I did. If you're going to have, and I think we can all agree, you're going to go with Green, Abbott, Lodolo, or maybe you flip-flop those two, right? So can we say Green, Abbott, Lodolo will be the top three no matter what order we put them in?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yes?
that's
Okay.
That's what I got. Yeah.
All right, so that puts Singer at number 4. All right. Last year, he was a 3.1 WAR player. Now his wins and losses don't look great at 14 and 12, but I think we all know that wins and losses is kind of a lost thing anyway. You look further and better into the numbers. He went 169 and 2/3 innings, 60 walks, 163 strikeouts. Okay, so you like for your walks and strikeout guy, especially in the rotations, to be at least double. So that would mean 60 and 120, but he's going to give you 60 and 163. I like that. And he only gave up 19 home runs in Great American Small Park, right? So here's the thing that I love about this rotation. There's two things. You've knocked this guy down to number 4. Can he hang with the number 1 guys? No, he's not a number 1 pitcher. But can he hang with the number 4 guys? Yes, he can. So what I think is you've got a chance to win day 1. You've got a chance to win the second time through. You've got a chance to win the third game of the 3-game series. And now that you've put Singer in the 4th spot, man, I'm telling you, I think you've got a good chance to win all 4 of those games just because of the starting pitchers. Now, inevitably, and again, we all 3 know this, there's going to be more than 5 starting pitchers during this season. And if you look at their AAA club and you look at some of even the non-roster invitees like Spires and some of the other guys, right? We not only have a good starting 4, and we're going to have to figure out who that 5th guy is. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a moment. But you're going to have 2 guys, in my estimation, that are probably going to go down to Louisville. I hope, and they keep starting. And they're ready in case somebody gets injured. So you just plug and play, right? Are they going to be fantastic guys? I mean, if Green goes down for 4 starts and you plug him in with Rhett Lauder or somebody like that, are you going to be like, oh, now I know we can still win every one of those games? No, but we've got a good shot. So the Reds have a really good starting 4, I'll say, and then they have really good depth right now. And they added veterans to the bullpen. That's a recipe for wins. We'll talk about Pacoda and everything else here in a little bit, but I think what the Reds have done as far as the pitching side, not sure if they've done it really well on the hitting side, but they've done it on the pitching side, that we have a chance to win every single game.
For sure. Yeah, and I guess we can go there if you guys are ready to talk about the 5th starter. I do agree with your analysis, Mike. The top 4. And Brady Singer's role is not to be ace type of the rotation type stuff.
No.
He's that innings eater guy, which is kind of a rare thing in Major League Baseball. To get even 200 innings would be a feat. But he's in that 160, 170, 180 every single year. So he performs his role well to eat up those innings, give the reliever some relief, for at least a little bit, and be able to just start every day. He didn't miss a start last year in 2025, right? Like he's not a guy that you're worried about his mechanics gonna get hurt in his elbow or shoulder or whatever. So hopefully that's
don't jinx him, but okay.
Yeah, well, he's done it for the last 3 years. Like he hasn't missed a start, I believe, in 3 years if I was looking at that right. But the point being is he's got his role and he does it well. But the 5th starter, where do we go, Sir Boy? There, like, what is your first thoughts on like who the guy should be, could be, or obviously, like Mike says, it's not going to be obviously. It may be a committee because. I think one GM once said that you need 14 starters throughout a whole 162 games. So, like, obviously there's going to be some plug and play with the Spires or whomever. But for now, who would be your 5th starter?
Chase Burns. And honestly, it's not even that I don't believe in the other 2. Because I think Rhett Lauder and Brandon Williamson have a lot to offer. Now, likely, it's going to come down to Lauder Burns, in my opinion. I don't think Williamson's going to be in the equation. Not to saying that he could mesmerize everyone in spring training and steal that spot. He absolutely could. I just think it's going to come down to Lauder or Burns. But I would give it to Burns right now. Just from what the small sample size that we saw, not to mention the fact that Lauder's coming back from a season-long injury where he did nothing. So, and I would like to ease him back in to getting innings under his belt before we just throw him right back in there. Same with Williamson, too. But, yeah, I would go with Burns right now as the fifth starter.
Yeah, for sure. Lauder did play a little bit in the Arizona Fall League, I think, as Mike would probably note as well. And he looked good there. So he's got a little bit of momentum and confidence, hopefully, going into the spring, despite, like you said, missing all 2025 in terms of, affiliate ball. So, like, that's hopefully a good thing for Lauder going to this season. Hopefully something to build on. But Mike, what would be your fifth starter if you had to pick right now?
Well, so let me give you a little bit. I don't know how much of this stuff you guys know, but Chase Burns has revamped his changeup, and he has also revamped, I believe, the slider as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Terry Francona mentioned it today, and he also there was like some notes that came out of today's stuff that I read today, right? So he said Nick Lodolo's slider was fall out of my chair good, was the quote. So it's like, wow. Okay, Terry Francona's seen a few sliders in his time. So if Nick Lodolo was throwing a fall out of my chair slider, let's go. I'm good for that, right? And then the second thing that he mentioned was Chase Burns. And on Saturday, the first look that we're going to get of the 2026-2027 Cincinnati Reds is going to be started by Chase Burns. So he's not going to go 6 innings or anything. Stop, guys. He's going to go 1 or 2. Okay. But I do believe that's significant, them giving him that starter spot on the very first day of spring training. That's usually reserved for a guy who they have high expectations for, traditionally. So I think that bodes well for Burns as well. But just to answer your question, just based on what I've seen, yes, I would pencil Burns into the 5th spot and put everybody else in pin 1 through 4.
Yeah, the thing that was I think mentioned in a off season or at the end of last season was innings limit for Chase Burns. So I don't know, maybe I'll modify the question because from what we can tell, yeah, they like Chase Burns a lot. His stuff is electric. And he's obviously shown at the major league level that he could strike out the Yankees. He can strike out the Dodgers, and it's not no opponent is too big for Chase Burns, which is a great thing. So I guess I'll kind of modify my question. Out of the 3 guys that we kind of think will be 5th starter material, or at least compete for that, who will have the most innings? Burns, Lauder, or Williamson? Sirboy.
I'd like to say Burns because I don't want him to get hurt this year. It would stink if he has one of those years like Lauder just had or Williamson just had. So I on paper, I'd like to say Burns will have the most innings out of those 3 gentlemen this year because, quite frankly, we need him to. More so than anything. We need this rotation to stay healthy. Even though we have the confidence all in the world that Brandon Williamson can do a spot start. Lauder can do a spot start. But we need this rotation to stay healthy. And that includes Chase Burns being healthy. So I would say Chase Burns is probably going to throw the most innings of those 3.
Yeah. Mike, same question. Like, of those 3, who do you think gets the most at the major league level, the most innings?
Well, let me do this a little backwards here. So the guy that I don't want to see get the most innings is Tony Santillan for another season, right? I can't believe that guy's arm's still attached to his body.
Yeah.
Let's calm that down, right? Yes. So I think you should piggyback somebody with Chase Burns. Chase Burns goes out there and gives you 5 to 6 innings and tries to get you the win, and then you piggyback a guy off of him, and for 2 or 3 innings after that before you turn that over to the bullpen. That does 2 things in my mind. The first thing it does is it gives the bullpen a rest because you're not asking the bullpen to pitch 4 innings that day possibly. You're only asking them to pitch 2. So that gives that a rest. And let me throw this name out there, gentlemen, because I like him, and I think that maybe he can grow into this role. But I want to see Lauder and Williamson go to AAA, and I mentioned it kind of in passing earlier. I want to see those two guys go to AAA, and I want the bats to have Lauder 1, Williamson 2 until we need them.
Yeah.
So how about this? How about they piggyback Chase Petty with Burns?
It could be. There was I think a report when he went down after starting the year. I think Carson Spires was the fifth guy coming out of camp, going into the opening day, I believe.
And you can do Spires, but he is a non-roster invitee, so you're going to have to make a move there, and I don't know if they want to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just setting it up into be that Chase Petty then came up. He got sent down after getting shelled and not having a great start to his professional career, and I think he's been retooling. He's kind of been talked about that he's been working on his pitches, trying to take a different approach, because his AAA numbers were not great at Louisville. He got killed even at Louisville, and I'm not saying that is an indication of his talent. I think it's an indication of him trying to work on his craft and doing something maybe a bit different, his approach. And sometimes guys use the minors for that exact reason. You know what I mean? They're not there to win Cy Youngs at Louisville, AAA. They're there to get better so they're major league ready. So I like to think that Chase Petty hopefully has taken the lessons of last year and hopefully is coming into this camp ready to go. And I think that's a perfect kind of, like a guy that could possibly be that Nick Martinez role. He's got the ability to start, but because he's kind of struggled, maybe in terms of, I don't know, just, being able to handle 5 to 6 innings, maybe giving him a smaller role of the Nick Martinez bridge the starter to the bullpen.
Yep.
Hey,
I agree.
I can see that. That's not a bad idea, I think.
No, and that's a very important role. That's a lot of times teams get blown up in the 6th or 7th inning, and then they've got to end up coming back. I don't want to see this team get blown up in innings 6 and 7, right? I want even though Chase Burns, and I don't want them to go, all right, Chase, you're the best we got. So our bullpen's not great. So we're going to make you throw another inning every time. I don't want that either, right? So I want somebody who's going to be a bridge guy. And I really think Chase Petty could do it really well. I hope there are some other people in this organization see it too. And I would love to do that. Last thing I want to do here real fast, gentlemen, is I want to give Derek Johnson some credit. DJ's done a fantastic job with this rotation and this bullpen. And I think he deserves all the credit in the world. I don't know if you guys have really seen him as far as I've seen him in spring training for the past few years. He's not a yell, scream guy. He is, okay, I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to take my notes. I'm going to write all this stuff down on this little clipboard over here. And he always encourages them. And then when he goes to the bullpen, watch him this year, guys. When he goes to the bullpen, when he goes to the mound and comes out, he doesn't say a whole lot. He'll be one poignant message to the pitcher. And it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Remember when I was talking to you before the game, this is what it is. And he basically struts off the mound and walks back to the dugout. I love the guy for that. I think he's done a really good job with this rotation, and I think DJ needs some credit here too.
Yeah, for sure. We all can agree DJ is not a bottom 5 pitching coach in Major League Baseball.
No, he is not.
That's good. I like
no,
that.
He is not.
Top 5 for sure. Any other thoughts you got, Sir Boy, on the pitching staff, 5th starter, or whatnot?
No, honestly, that's spot on. I'd love to see Chase Petty in that role going forward as that swing man. I think that he would be beneficial for them to have that.
Yeah.
So I love that idea.
Yeah, and the one thing that I saw from 2025 Terry Francona is that he knows how to manage his bullpen. He knows how to manage his pitchers. He inspired a lot of confidence with Andrew Abbott, keeping him into games later than probably David Bell ever would consider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that is the one thing that Terry Francona has markedly been much better and has been able to make this team better by, like I said, managing the bullpen. Somehow, like you said, Santillan and Barlow were able to pitch every single day, but they never seemed to have a real bad stretch where they were just awful. You know what I mean? So I really think that's one real big difference since we've got this Hall of Fame manager in our ball club now. So, but yeah. If anything, Mike, you got any other thoughts on the starting 5 rotation or whatnot?
Nope, I'm good, buddy.
And Sirboy, are you still with us?
Yeah, I got it. Yes, I do need to go, but
really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah. Thank
Mike,
you,
great to talk to you, though. I believe this is the first time I've ever had a chance to talk to you. So,
yeah, well, we'll have to have you on and Mike on. Maybe we'll just have like a big old round table with everybody, Ricky and whoever else wants.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we need to do something like that. I like that idea. We'll schedule it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, gentlemen.
Thank you again. We'll see you.
Well.
Yeah, go Reds. All right, Mike. This next topic, I don't know how far you want to go. It really, the Nathaniel Lowe signing, I didn't necessarily think it was as big of a deal as some other people in our Reds media space have thought. But a lot of people are really raving about Nathaniel Lowe being signed to a minor league deal, being invited to spring training camp. He obviously has some decent numbers in his past. He's a Silver Slugger, I believe,
Yes.
a couple years ago, 2022 or so. Like, I wasn't too familiar with his game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I guess I'm kind of thinking, why haven't other teams gotten into trying to sign him to a minor league deal or what have you? But I guess I'm grateful that if he is what a lot of people have been saying, like Reds Daily 4 and a bunch of like Locked On people are like, this is a kind of a steal. And if he is kind of one of those guys, you know, low risk, high upside type of situation, if he is what they say he is, I think the Reds might have something. I don't know if he'll make the open-ended roster, but at least we might have something possibly to throw out there with a veteran bat, left-handed at that as well. So that's kind of a big deal. But
Right.
I don't know what your thoughts were, Mike, on the Nathaniel Lowe signing and inviting him to spring training. But what were your thoughts?
I love this because, first of all, before I get into numbers, right, this is not a typical Cincinnati Reds signing right before spring training. I mean, you know, I saw where the Los Angeles Dodgers signed Santiago Espinal today to a minor league contract, right? That is what the Reds do. You know, I like Santiago. I do. He has a purpose, and it's defensive, and that's about the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he's not a clubhouse leader. He's not done really anything in the past. He is just I think the word we'll attach to him is serviceable, right? Yeah. And that's the people that the Reds go out and get at the end. It's like, okay, we've got 2 or 3 more spots on this roster. Who do we want to get? Let's get this guy who's serviceable, and let's get this guy who's serviceable. You know, we pick people up and we wipe off the muck off of them and be like, oh, we can make this guy great, and it's going to happen in Red Spring Training Camp. And, you know, we're all supposed to get excited about this. We don't have to make Nathaniel Lowe great. He's going to have a carved out spot on this roster. And I'm going to tell you, if he doesn't get hurt during this time, he will be on the Reds roster. But I have to throw a but in here. First base is crowded in the Cincinnati Reds dugout. What are we going to do with Steer? What are we going to do with Sal Stewart? And you know, people keep saying, oh, well, these are great questions and great problems to have. I'm not sure if they are or not, because here's what I'm worried about. Sal Stewart still has options. Do I want Nathaniel Lowe to make this roster in place of Sal Stewart? No, I do not. But I understand that there's a bench role. And if you let's look at numbers real quick, right? So, you know, again, big stat guy, love to look at these numbers. On base percentages, he was a 790 on base percentage last year. OPS plus 121. He has been great at that. What Lowe is good at? I don't think Lowe is a good 162 game guy. He's a good at bat off the bench. He watches video. He knows how to hit, and he can get you that one great needed hit with 2 guys on and 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. Right? That's what Nathaniel Lowe's journey is going to be now. And if something happens to Sal Stewart, you know, we don't want that, but if something happens to him, or if something happens to Steer, or, you know, one of these other guys that we're looking at, then Lowe can be a short-term fix. And that's something that we've not had. When somebody goes down, you know, the reason why Matt McLean never got sent down to the minors last year is because they really didn't have anybody else who could fill in at second base for him. So they just kept putting him out there and kept putting him out there. And if you've got a guy who gets a little injured and you're like, you know what, you don't need to play for the next 5-7 days, sit over here on this bench, Lowe can start for you for the next 5 to 7 days. then that's a really good thing to have. And I think that's the kind of thing that Nathaniel Lowe can give to us.
Yeah, it is a matter of where you put them or where you have them in that 26-man opening day roster. Because you're right, there had been like whispers from camp and reporting from camp that basically the backup second baseman is going to be Sal Stewart and or Spencer Steer. So there is some interesting kind of flexibility that hopefully can allow for certain guys to stay on this roster. And you know, not that we wish it to happen, but injuries happen. And
right.
You know, Nathaniel Lowe seems to be a great insurance plan if something should happen. Unfortunately, maybe to Sal, to Suarez is going to be in the WBC. You know what I mean? Like there could be a lot of different combinations that open up roster spots for different guys. It will be interesting to keep tabs on him to see how he does in spring training, right? Like that could be.
He's already there. He was there yesterday.
Yeah, that could be. And I guess the report was like he started like almost reporting the camp without signing his contract. So like you almost forgot to sign pen to paper. He was either that excited to join the Reds or he got caught up doing some sort of things and just forgot to do it. But anyway, the point being,
I think the Francona part of it is there too. People want to play for Terry Francona, and if you know. We talk about things that are on our bucket list, right? Like both of you guys are saying that spring training is on your bucket list. Well, I think there's a lot of players out there in Major League Baseball who have on their bucket list, I want to play for Terry Francona. And we can provide that because he's the manager of the Cincinnati Reds.
Absolutely. It makes it hopefully an attractive spot to come. I mean, Suarez signed, so I don't know exactly that was the main thinking there. But yeah, right. Anybody that we've talked to in the Reds org, the minor leaguers have said just raving things about playing for Tito Francona. It's kind of crazy that his as the kids would say, his aura, his personality just floats all the way down to the, you know, the Arizona Complex League players probably and whatnot. I don't know if they're feeling that same type of affinity into the Dominican, but I'm sure once they get stateside, they'll get a handle on what Terry Francona is all about. But the Low signing seems like just, you know, a very high upside, low risk thing that, you know, like the Reds, like you say, they dabble in that kind of situation. I remember they picked up Ty France, right? Who was, you know, a 2022 All-Star and kind of we're trying to see if he could catch fire and you know, rekindle that old form. And it's kind of
signed today by the Padres, by the way.
Yeah, and he's a Gold Glover with the Twins last year. So like I guess he was holding out on the Reds when he was playing here in 2024. But yeah, he's definitely like a guy that he's left-handed bat Low, and he hits right-handed pitching really well, which a lot of our lefties have struggled, like a Benson and whatnot. Like it could be a situation where he may be also taking at bats away from a Spencer Steer, a Benson, or like you said, a Sal Stewart. I don't know exactly what it's all going to shake out. Obviously, that's why Francona gets paid the big bucks to make these decisions, and the front office, you know, makes these decisions. But yeah, I just thought it was a great opportunity to bring in a veteran guy that hopefully can rekindle that 2022 Silver Slugger type of form. And if he hits righties well, we always have like a spot for left-handed. You know, I feel like there's always like we don't have that left-handed power bat or left-handed, you know, threat from the left side. Obviously, Ellie's switch hitter, so he does provide a little bit of that. But I mean, outside of Ellie,
yeah, but he's not pinch hitting or anything like that. He's in the lineup pretty much every day. I mean, Nathaniel Lowe he starts once a week and gives somebody a breather. He starts once a week, and you know, I'm laughing at comments over here, you know, he gives somebody a breather, right? And then he is in, and then he is in the, it's my buddy Cheese. He and I do the Lights Out Sports podcast. We'll do it tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 Pacific, 8 over on where you are at over there, Roger. But, and if he's the guy off the bench in the 8th inning. And here's the thing. Here's what I want you to keep in your skull for a few minutes. If we're bringing a guy off the bench that we want to get a good pinch hit for us, that means we're in every one of those games. You know, we're not getting blown out. We're a run or two away, and there's probably a runner or two on base, and we're like, okay, this is our moment. And Nathaniel Lowe, all right, here's the bat. Go up there and get us a big hit. I'm taking that all day long. Yeah,
for sure. And the bench has been an area that the Reds, I don't want to say neglect, but maybe they just don't have the money to bring in somebody to have that depth or have that, profile or whatnot. Like you said, you bring in like a Santiago Espinal to come in and or like a Blake Dunn or like a Stuart Fairchild. Like those guys, when they get in the box, are not scaring when they pinch hit, they're not scaring anybody. And Ricky always laments like how many times, even last year, we have like bases loaded, 1 out or 0 outs, and get little to nothing. And that kind of stuff has to kind of stop, especially if they want to be a competitive ball club against the Brewers, against the Cubs. Like they can't let those kind of situations slip as much if they are truly, ascending to where they think they can be. It definitely, hopefully, will provide that type of threat off the bench because, there have been guys like Benson come off the bench and, again, not really, getting the job done and whatnot. So, yeah, I really like the signing, at least for that. What he ends up turning out to be for this ball club will be interesting to see, and hopefully we'll get a clearer picture through spring training, and also once they get, finally down to the opening day roster. So any other thoughts you got there with Mr. Lowe signing for the Redlegs?
No, I just think I'm with everybody else. I think it's really important. This is what they have not done all year long. You mentioned the Brewers. The Brewers seem to do this all the time. They get that guy in from third base. They move the guy from second to third and then get him in. And the Reds just have not been able to do that lately, especially with the offense that they put out there on the field. So I think this could be a really big piece to getting that done.
Yeah, especially now that they're in a situation where, like, the Cubs have gotten better. The Brewers obviously traded some guys away, but they're always going to be there, except if you look at Fangraphs or Petcoa or I forgot how to say it. I always say it wrong. Pacoda,
yes.
But anyway, they have their projections out. It's that time of year, prediction season, trying to figure out all the analytics and projections will be for the wins, for the stats that these players will potentially have in 2026. And the Reds did not get great prediction numbers. They first came out with like a really low playoff prediction number with Fangraphs. I think it was like some 9% chance of making the playoff.
10, I know that. Yeah.
It was kind of weird. And then like the Pirates had like double. They had like an 18% chance of making the playoffs, and we're kind of just scratching our heads over here. I'm like, I get it that the stinking Pirates added some players and they have a bunch of young pitchers and they got some guys in the minors that are pretty decent, but like, you got to be kidding me in terms of like thinking that the Pirates are going to be ahead of them. And I think Fangraphs, agreed. The Reds had like 79 wins or 80 wins predicted, and they had the Pirates right there at 80 or 81. I don't know really what to make of it. It's kind of funny because it seems like every single year they're always predicting a certain amount of wins, and the Reds either completely blow it away, like in 2023. Obviously, they blew the expectations out of the water, and then in 2024 they kind of regressed and whatnot. So I don't know really what to make of it. Mike, you're the kind of the analytics guy. Is these predictions ring true to you, or is this just something to talk about in the offseason?
Well, it's stuff to talk about in the offseason. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and Cheese, you should have been here at the beginning of the show, buddy. So go back and do what Cheese should have done, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just now joining us, rewatch the beginning of the show because we talk about the Reds rotation and how that 4-letter awful company doesn't like us, but we don't care about that 4-letter awful company. So
how come we didn't censor the title? I mean, out of the 4 letters together, I thought that's not that's kind of anyway.
Right. So. Yes, it's a lot to talk about in the offseason. Supposedly they run these things through some kind of computer simulator and they run it like 100 times and all this kind of stuff. But, we're not a computer simulator. We're a bunch of real people, just like the fans are not computer simulated as to what they think we're all going to do and who we think we're going to get behind. So they clearly don't watch baseball at all. That's correct. So what I want to say about this is, this should be bulletin board material for the Cincinnati Reds. These predictions should be all over their clubhouse. These predictions should be on every locker room door. And Terry Francona and the rest of the team should get behind those. DJ, we mentioned him earlier, doing a great job with the pitching staff. These things should be in the bullpen. These things should be everywhere. This is what this company thinks of us. And now we're going to prove them wrong. That's what this is. This is bulletin board material for the Cincinnati Reds.
For sure. Francona seems like the exact kind of guy that would, still print out or maybe get like a newspaper cut out and put it up there like the old school days. But would definitely use it as motivation for these guys, because I don't think he's a huge analytics type of guy. He seems to have a very old school approach to the game still, in terms of the way he sets lineups, the way he manages, certain pitching situations and whatnot, going with his gut rather than what the computer says type of thing. So this type of thing is exactly what Francona would want. Like, underestimate us, please. Go ahead. Like, we don't want, obviously the computer to basically tell us how we're going to play baseball. So why would we listen to a computer who spit out how many wins we're going to get? So it kind of along those lines. And I get, like, it's obviously something to talk about in the offseason. These guys, Fangraphs, have risen to really big popularity in terms of the baseball community, because analytics is still a huge part of the game in terms of really determining how good certain players are and whatnot. And the eye test sometimes isn't as at least in the development, like the younger minors and stuff like that. They probably hopefully will use analytics to try to suss out which players are going to end up being most major league ready. But once you get to the majors, at that point, I feel like I think Marty Brennaman says that you should not be still working on certain things through the majors. Like, you shouldn't be working on defensive stuff. Shouldn't be working on maybe just little minor tweaks and stuff like that. But like, it's not a place for development when you get to Major League Baseball. Obviously,
that's what spring training's for.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, certain ball clubs can't exactly afford to not have kind of 4A players, Miami Marlins or whomever. But like, once you get to the majors, you are a major league professional player, and that's where you're there to perform. So hopefully, this is just complete fodder for the Reds to just eat up and go into spring training and go into the season and say, yeah, they're going to be dead wrong. This is not us. I mean, again, like, they should be just mad that they put the Pittsburgh Pirates ahead of them. That's what I thought. I was like, how are the Pirates getting this good pub? Because, like, I don't know. I don't know if you get into the algorithm, Mike, but like, for some reason, Ricky likes to mix it up with Pittsburgh Pirates fan accounts and stuff like that, and they kind of go back and forth trolling each other. And I just kind of laugh because I'm like, aren't you guys worse than us? Like, this is not like a like,
right.
We shouldn't be. I'm not saying that you can't have a little bit of fun on the internet. I'm just saying it feels like we're punching down. And so, like, maybe we should just kind of like put the Pirates where they put them in their place and just kind of keep it moving. We got bigger and better plans, hopefully in the playoffs. Hopefully winning some playoff series this year and go into a season. Just I don't know. It feels like the Pirates seem to like want that fight. I think the Cincinnati Reds fans should kind of just let them fight amongst themselves. But yeah,
well, I mean, the Pirates have some. The Pirates do have some good players. I'm not going to give them. I'm not going to take anything away from them. We'll talk about it in a minute. They just signed a guy who is going to make me hate them. But that's for what he's done off the field. But they need to prove something first. The Reds did make the playoffs last year. I know they made the playoffs just as much because the Mets failed at the end of the season than what they did right at the end of the season. But the fact still remains, they made the playoffs last year. They're a team that's on the cusp and is moving the right way. And then you've got these Pirate people who are just, okay, well, they've got one really good pitcher, and they do. And now they've made a few decent signings, and they have. But prove it to me first before you start putting them ahead of a team that made the playoffs last year. Shame on those people who are doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know exactly what they saw because we added Suarez and they added the guy that should not be named from Atlanta that I guess is good. He hits the ball hard, but I don't know if he can play any other position.
He can't do anything else. He can hit the ball.
Yeah. So
doesn't give you any defense, doesn't give you anything else, but yet they paid him just as much as we did Eugenio Suarez. Yeah. And they have a second year to him. So yes. And
I'm with Cheese on it. At least
that's true too.
The Pirates will win at least 9 games next year. That's a good prediction. I'll go with that. that will be definitely. Hopefully the Reds also the same. Get 9 out of 12 wins out of the Cardinals because they stink. I don't know. It's kind of a interesting situation. The Cardinals. I don't want them to come back. Obviously, I'm not trying to like feel pity for the Cardinal way, but like dang, they're in a bad way. They traded Arenado, right? So they're just kind of
Gray, Arenado. Miles Michaelis just got signed by the Nationals, so he's not going to be back with them again.
really.
So I mean they're a shell of what they have been the last few years. He's right. The Reds and even the Pirates should get 9 out of 12 wins from them. He's got a lot. Man, calm down over there, Cheese. Cheese is going all kinds of crazy over here. And you know, you guys can too, right? Put those comments up there. We'd love to see the different comments. We'll put you up here on the screen, and that's really nice too. You know what, Cheese? That's a good take by you, buddy. That's probably going to happen. One of those two guys will be National League Rookie of the Year before it's all said and done. I like both those kids.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. And Ballesteros is he a catcher, right? Or I forget where he positioned.
Outfielder, I believe. Cheese,
outfielder.
That's you, buddy.
Yeah, I keep
Cheese
forgetting.
is a big Cubs and Braves fan, so he's on with us right here with what's going on.
Yeah, I just get because of the Cheese thing and the Packers. I'm like, I can't. Usually Cubs and Packers aren't usually. I don't know. It doesn't compute. I guess it's like being.
He
like
says DH, by the way.
Oh, okay, nice. So yeah, that'd be a good shout. I mean, put your money in now. I guess in whatever sports book that your sports book of choice.
So you were right, though. You were right. I thought he was an outfielder. He says catcher, but he can't catch very well. So he'll be the DH for him.
Yeah. I think that Cassie, I forget, the one that got traded was their outfield prospect that they got, Owen Cassie, I forget his name, Canadian. I think he's on the Canadian World Baseball Classic. So shout out to him. I forget what team, Mets, or where he ended up traded to. I forget. I'm sure Cheese will tell us. I'm not
going to act like I know. I don't know.
Mario Poser writes in, hopefully that on April 1st when we play the Pirates, that we'll be again taking them deep. Skeens being in the World Baseball Classic, it should be kind of like, I don't know, maybe I don't know how they factor that in for the Petcoa or the Fangraphs wins, but like him kind of going out there and pitching for Team USA could have, you know, that wear and tear that Terry Francona talked about that you kind of have to be aware of going out there and pitching against. I'm sure he's not going to go very deep in the games when he does play for Team USA, but that can't be obviously a great thing for the Pirates, other than the pub of saying, you know, Paul Skeens, Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher here on Team USA going up against the world. But yeah, April 1st, book it. We'll make sure. I mean, the game that Ricky and I went to was against the Pirates, and they swept them at Great American Ballpark, and Ellie hit a grand slam on his bobblehead day. So shout out to Ellie. Hopefully we can have a repeat performance like that in 2026. So,
and, you know, I sent it out to you. I'll throw it out here right now. I will be back in Cincinnati later on during the year. We're all going to get together and do tickets. You know, you're looking like at me like you don't know this. You need to read our group chat a little more, sir. But I will be there. We'll get some tickets. Have the ability to get some discounted tickets for us all. We'll take some selfies and you know, we'll see if we can't rile up the Reds team. So we'll do that later on during the year.
Yeah. One more thing. Cheese is right. He said that there are some Cubs, Packers people out there. I guess I don't know. I grew up in Chicago, and the countercultural thing would be a Packers fan and a White Sox fan, because the Cubs and the Bears are like the city's team, more or less. So like if you go up against that, say, you know, but hey, you know, Cheese is proof they're Cubs and Packers fans out there. So shout out to him holding it down. And yeah, hopefully the Cubs, they're predicted to win 90 wins according to Fangraphs prediction as well. So we'll see how that turns out. That would be, I think, their first division win since 2017. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think they could win the division. I can't imagine the Brewers having this 97 win season, not coming back down to earth a little bit. You know what I mean? Like maybe 88 wins, 87. Like 97 wins is like, that's an all-time Brewers team. In my lifetime, I don't remember the Brewers ever flirting with 100 wins before like this past season. So I don't know. I mean, any other thoughts you got for Fangraphs?
Looking at it as the division, right? And that's where the wins and losses come mostly is within the division, right? So Tucker going away and Bregman coming in, I pretty much call that a wash. All right. So I don't necessarily think that the Cubs have improved. They got a couple pieces for their bullpen. So I guess I'll, you know, again, improvement. I don't know. They don't even know who their closer is going to be yet. So, you know, I'm not sure how much I want to anoint the Cubs as being number one, but I will say this: the Reds are going to be better, the Pirates are going to be better, and somebody else in the division has to lose games. I mean, you can't keep everybody at the same win total from last year and say, well, the Reds and the Pirates are both going to be better, and that's not mathematically possible. So the team that I think will lose more games and will, as you said, come back down to earth will be Milwaukee. I don't think they're gonna even get to 90 wins this coming season. I think the Chad Durbin trade's going to bite them in the butt. I really liked him, and I think you're going to see him blossom over in Boston. So I think Sir Boy said it earlier when we were talking. This division is up for grabs. There is no one team that I look at and say, yep, they're going to win that division. So I'm excited because I think this is going to be a really good season in the National League Central, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
Oh, for sure. They do get Justin Steele back. He missed all last year, so that's like a big thing for the Cubs to get that lefty. I think he got Cy Young votes in 2024, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he's a pretty good, like, it's almost like an addition to the roster, right? Like, he missed all last year, now he's back. The closer thing, yeah, that really got them in 2024 as well, not having a shutdown closer. And that made them lose a bunch of games. And mm-hmm. I think they ended up winning only 83 games in 2024. So, like, you never know. You never know. That's why you play the games, right, Mike? You play the games because it's not played on paper. The Reds could go out there, win 95 games, and be right there at the top or the top of the division. It's just a matter of how they go about their business and close out games and hopefully produce enough runs to win those games. That's kind of been obviously the issue with the Reds of the last couple seasons, but we'll see. I mean, hey, again, that's why you play the games. I don't know about you, Mike, but the Reds have announced that they have a new streaming stuff. So I don't know how you consume your Reds for the most part, being out there outside the TV network or the range of their broadcasting. But they do have a Reds.TV, $99 for the whole season, and there's no blackouts. That's like the big thing that came out of it. Are you a subscriber to Reds TV, or is that something you're looking to get into, or are you an MLB TV type guy?
I do the MLB.TV. So again, that four-letter word company is messing with our baseball stuff, right? So I'll see if I can break it down. We talk about it. I won't do the full breakdown like we did this past Tuesday on the Lights Out Sports podcast that you can go back and look at if you would like to. We have the different graphics in the background so you can tell what subject we're talking about. So when we went over it, so if you are a previous subscriber to MLB.TV, you're not going to have to pay the $30 or so a month that it's going to be for ESPN. But if you are a new subscriber to MLB.TV and you pay the $49 for every team, which is, if you look at it and you go, oh, well, a lot of Reds fans are like, it's only $99 and we don't get any blackouts and Well, I can watch all of them for $139. All right, just so everybody knows, it's $40 more and I can watch everybody. And they do little recaps at the end, which I love. I watch almost every recap every day. Do a lot of different shows on MLB TV as well that just the Reds people are not going to be privy to. So a lot of different stuff, and I think it's worth it for the extra money to go to MLB.TV. Do I think it's going to be worth it to pay over $500 now that you're also going to have to be an ESPN subscriber? No, I don't. So I don't like what they're doing. And I guess Reds.com, but Ricky, Roger, let me ask you this, buddy. Are you a baseball fan to where you want to watch all kinds of games, or would you consider yourself more of a Reds fan to where it's like, I just want to concentrate on one team, and I love the fact that I know going into the season that I can watch every game every night or every day, depending on where they're playing? Yeah,
for me, it's mostly Reds first, and then if there's national games on, now that NBC is in the fold, they'll have games on Peacock.
Which I love, by the way. We'll get to that in a moment.
Exactly. So, like, I like watching the national games if they're on Fox Saturdays, stuff like that. That's the kind of where I go to if the Reds aren't on or they already played that day. Like, I think the package of not having the blackouts for the $99 is kind of the big deal in Reds country, because we even, like, you had Tommy on, I believe, Tommy Bennett he's a Red Sox fan, but he's got family that are Reds fans as well. I think his father-in-law, I believe. He said that in North Carolina, where he lives, he can't watch the Reds because they're technically in their their blackout zone. So like before this new, obviously the mainstream sports dropped FanDuel TV and all that junk and bankruptcy and whatnot. Before all that happened, a lot of Reds fans couldn't watch. And if you look at the map, the coverage map, it goes all the way down to Huntsville, Alabama for the Reds, and all the way far north is like Cleveland, Ohio, Akron, Ohio. So it's like it's a very huge Reds country is huge. And it goes as west as like West Virginia. So like I felt like they always were, as you would say, screwing the fans, like one way or another, whether it be this ESPN stuff that you're talking about, trying to be a ESPN Plus or whatever the new subscription thing you have to do to make sure you get all the games. I don't know. It felt like the consumer always lost whatever you did, whether it be just trying to watch the Reds or you're trying to watch everything and you had to subscribe in 3 different ways just to get everything. So I don't know. I guess to answer your question, I focus on the Reds first. And if it's easier to find the Reds and it's easier to access it, which, I think a lot of fans that had cable and liked Bally's and liked, Fox Sports Ohio back in the day, it's a lot easier to access it that way than, say, signing up for Reds.tv. That's a whole other, thing. Obviously, I think I can manage at least trying to download that subscription service and stream it to my smart TV. But some other fans might feel left out with these decisions as well. So I don't know. I guess there's no real way to make everyone happy, which I guess you kind of learn that in life anyway. But True. In this scenario, I feel like the Reds fans win a little bit more than they had in the past. And hopefully the coverage is just as good. Hopefully there's not streaming errors and the coverage kind of crashes on you constantly, the app or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's at least for the time being right now, it feels like a win. It feels like hopefully they'll be able to keep the same people that they've had, on the broadcast and whatnot. But ultimately, I don't know if you're trying to watch all of baseball, it might be a lot more difficult. Like you said, up to $500. $500 is
that's a little much.
Yeah, that's a lot for anybody. I don't care who you are, but I guess if you're watching that much, I guess it maybe it's worth it. But I don't know. I guess go ahead.
Well, then you can also take it and compare it to a going to a game, right? So Roger, how many kids do you have? 2, right? Okay, yeah. So you, your wife, 2 kids. You each buy tickets. Have you blown your $100 yet?
Probably, depending. We try to go like I actually go to the games more than my family, so that's a way of cost saving. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I get it. The experience is nice, and from what I do, I usually pick 3 to 5 games a year, and I go to those games. I go to a ton of spring training games. I'm probably going to see. I've got 2.5 weeks off of work coming up, so I will, and I wait to take the days off of work until they start doing what I like to call 2-a-days. So they'll do a 1:00 game, and then they'll do like a 6 p.m. game later on, and I will literally go to both of those games. So like I'll probably see a good 25 to 30 spring training games this season.
Okay.
So that's where I consume a lot of my stuff as well. But if you look at it from just a standpoint of, okay, I'm going to go to the game. I got to get 4 tickets. We'll say a family of 4, right? Got to park. There's going to be drinks involved. There's going to be food involved. There's going to be, and by the time you look at all of this, you're going to spend way up over that $100 mark, or you're going to spend way up over even the $130 or $140, $50 mark that you would do for MLB.TV. And that's the way I look at it, is I just take one game off of my schedule that I would go to in person, and that pays for my streaming service that I can sit on my couch and drink whatever I want and wear whatever I want, and that's where I park. So it's a much better savings for me that way, and that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, definitely the experience of going down to the ballpark is hard to replace, but if it can be with the streaming service and being right there and being able to access it whenever the game comes on and whatnot, you don't have to go through the crowds or traffic or whatever that comes with the game day experience. So there's that advantages as well. So yeah, I don't know. I actually sometimes I prefer the radio to be honest with you. Obviously living close enough to listen to 700 WLW is an advantage being in this market, because now you can listen to Tommy Thrall and the Cowboy. And I feel like that they paint a pretty decent picture too. Just shout out to those guys.
They really do.
Is what I'm trying to say. So,
I have XM satellite radio just for that, so that I can listen to the games when I'm in the car and stuff too. So, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, exactly. The car experience, because sometimes I'll have work or whatever, taking kids here and there and all that. So 7 o'clock game. Hey, the game's on the radio. There you go, right in the car. So that's always a nice feel. I don't know. I'm also kind of like now driving today and like the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh man, I gotta start like making sure that I know when the game starts, so that way I can put it on the radio and be able to listen along while I'm driving. So it's starting to get back to that old rhythms that we're used to as baseball fans.
Yeah.
So
it's riding the baseball bike.
Yeah, trying to get right back on it. And 5 days we got games. I don't know if I don't know if we can wait that long. It feels like it's been a long time since we've heard any Reds baseball. But any other thoughts about streaming or whatnot?
No, we're good, buddy.
Yeah, so like a bunch of guys have been, signing with different teams. Nick Martinez, an ex-Red, a guy that he had his good times here with Cincinnati. He served his time admirably pitching for them. He ended up going to a different team, Tampa Bay Rays. A bunch of other guys as well. Andahar ended up getting signed to, Padres, I believe, out west.
He did.
Like you said, the Padres are signing everybody. So Castellanos is out there now as well.
Yeah, you have a great time with Castellanos and Mercado and Fernando Tatis Jr. all in that same locker room together. Have a blast.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll see how that all
something will happen for the season's over. I guarantee it.
For sure. And then Marcelo Ozuna is now with the Pirates, kind of as the. And think about this this is why I'm I guess not to beat a dead horse, but this is why I'm upset kind of at the Fangraphs in Petcoa is that not only did the Pirates miss out on Schwarber, not only did they miss out on Suarez, but they have to settle for this guy. Anyway, and neither
pay him more.
Yeah. So that's also kind of happened. Some other guys ended up getting signed, ex-Reds. I just had to pull this up here.
While you're pulling that up, can I talk on Nick Martinez for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the Rays did sign Nick Martinez. It's a 1-year deal with a mutual option, so it's a $13 million guarantee. He is a Boras client, by the way, just so everybody knows. Those are two of the most awful words in sports. Boras client. He gets $9 million this coming season. And he gets a $4 million on buyout on a contract for next. So that's how they come up with the $13 million guarantee. I said earlier that, a lot of the Santiago Espinals and all of that are the people that the Reds seem to be signing towards the end. We're not doing that this year. So in this article that I was referencing here on MLB Trade Rumors, if you don't go there, it's a really good baseball site for everyone. It's a free plug for them because they didn't pay us jack. But he had the best year of his career in 2024. And here's the best year of his career stats. You ready?
Yeah.
142 in the third innings, 3.10 ERA, and 16 of 42 appearances. That's not a great year. 142 in the third of 3.10 ERA. It's not a great year, and yet that's the best year of his career. That's not the guy that I want the Reds to sign. I want them to go out and get better guys. I want them to go get Suarez, who I would say was a better signing than spending their money on Nick Martinez. And the Reds might not be $200 million payroll, but we're going in the right direction. We're not signing these bottom of the barrel type guys right at the end of the season or right before spring training starts. Let Tampa Bay sign him. That's fine. And nothing against Nick Martinez. I've never met the guy, didn't know the guy, but that's not the person that I want us to sign. I want the Reds to scale up a little bit, and it seems like they are last year and this year, and hopefully that can make for a better end of the season for us, and we'll play more than 162 games. Yeah,
and the Nick Martinez story is interesting. I believe he was signed before the 2024 season out of Japan, and he was coming off of some stint in the majors before that, I believe, with the Padres as well. We talk about the Padres a lot this episode for some reason. But anyway, goes to Japan for a couple of years to work on his craft. Japan's probably you'd probably say the second best, major leagues out there, or at least up there. Maybe Korean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some others that escape me. But he went out there, worked on his craft. The Reds kind of took a flyer on him. They weren't sure exactly what they're going to get from like a Nick Martinez. Pitched pretty well in 2024, so much that they gave him the Reds organizational pitcher of the year over Hunter Green, which Ricky and I talk about that. I think the Reds orgs just have like, a little something against Hunter, but that's neither here nor there as well.
They wanted to justify the contract that they gave Nick Martinez on the qualifying offer. One of the two. Right.
That 2024 season earned him the $21 million qualifying offer. He ends up pitching the stats that you had mentioned, the 144 innings and 3.10 ERA, which is decent, right? I don't know if it's $21 million worth.
I know it's not.
Yeah, it's definitely a serviceable player that is getting, I guess, compensated on the back end for having a better 2024 than a lot of people thought he would. But that's kind of how baseball works. You get compensated in the back end. Like Ellie's going to be making a boatload of money in the back end of his career, as opposed to now where he's, inching toward his prime. But anyway, the point being is that the Reds can't afford that. They're going to draft and develop pitchers as they have and say, thank you for your service, Nick Martinez. You can sign elsewhere. And that's exactly what happened. I don't know exactly like his situation of being kind of that rubber arm, if you can give him that label, because he's kind of in between, can be starter or long reliever or just come in a pinch or, a spot start or what have you. Like, I don't know if what that value is in today's Major League Baseball. We talked about having like a Chase Petty be that kind of guy, that in between innings guy, and he's not making $21 million or $9 million, I believe, is what he signed with the Rays. So, like, I don't know. Pitching is expensive, I guess, is the ultimate point I'm trying to say, because $9 million, even if like that was the offer the Reds gave to Nick Martinez, I don't know if even like I don't know if that'd be worth the money for the Reds organization to kind of go down that route. So
yeah, I don't think so.
All power to him. I'm glad he found a home because, like I said, he kind of was no man's land, trying to figure out if he was going to be coming back to America when he was pitching a couple seasons in Japan. So I think he's a good guy. He definitely, there was no issues when he was here in Cincinnati. So I'm glad that he was able to find a new home. It's just, too rich for Cincinnati Reds payroll for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the other guys that I was thinking of is that Ben Rortfeld, the guy that they claimed off the Dodgers.
The catcher? Yeah.
Yeah, the DFA'd, and then he got picked up again by the Dodgers. So we're just full circle moment for that guy this offseason.
He got DFA'd the other day again too. So he's not with the Dodgers anymore. He's in no man's land again.
All right. Well, then there you go. And maybe the Reds, when they trade Tyler Stevenson, will pick him up. Anyway.
Stop that.
No, and then another guy, Ben Lively, a guy that the Reds had for a while, signed a 2-year minor league deal with the Guardians. So like, there's a bunch of guys out there that the Reds used to have. They're finding jobs. So I guess, I'm mostly trying to say, like, the Nick Castellanos of the world, the Nick Martinez of the world. I don't know if the Reds want to kind of go down these paths of getting guys that. They did it with Suarez, obviously, with guys that are kind of coming back to Cincinnati. But I don't know if they want to go back down this route, signing guys that used to be here, like the Castellanos. I don't know what your thoughts were there. There was obviously a very interesting report that the reason why he got benched in Philadelphia was because he had a falling out with the management. They took him off the field for a defensive replacement in the outfield because he's statistically not a great outfielder anymore in this part of his career, but then came back with a beer and was about to confront his manager. But I think people intervened at the right moment. So I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on Nick Castellanos, that kind of rumors that he may end up getting a minor league deal back here to come to Cincinnati?
He's not a good fit here, just like he's not a good fit in Philadelphia. I mean, that's the gist of it. He's not a good fit there, and he ran his mouth. So when you run your mouth and you're not a good fit somewhere, I mean, I don't know what you do for a job as far as that goes, Roger. But if I got a guy who I'm supervising that runs his mouth a lot and he's not real great, Well, that's going to be the first guy that goes, right? And, the guy who keeps his head down and keeps his mouth shut and does his job every day is, okay, I'm keeping that guy and I'm throwing this guy to the curb. And that's basically what happened in Philadelphia. They went out and got Adolis Garcia, who is better defensively, and they paid him less money. And then they couldn't even trade him. I mean, that has to give you solace right there. They had to release him. They couldn't even trade him. They could get nothing for him. No one wanted him. Or I will give it the other way. Everybody knew they were trying to trade him, and if nobody bit, then they knew they were going to have to release him, and then they could pick him up off the waiver wire. So that might be a part of it too, where Philadelphia had to cover that entire $20 million, except for the 749,000 that the league minimum is this year. So that's how that worked. When the Padres signed him, they paid that 749,000, and the Phillies paid everything else. So to look at it that way, that could be a good signing for them, only having that much money invested in Nick Castellanos. But he didn't fit here either, because we've got a pretty good outfield combo. We got a pretty good DH combo here. So I don't really think that Nick Castellanos had a spot here, whether he wanted to come back here or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with almost every single part of that. And also just in terms of having that last report of him kind of being confrontational. And he is not a guy that doesn't share his thoughts. He had thoughts about the Castellini ownership after he left Cincinnati, that he felt that they were cheap and they didn't offer him money, and he went somewhere where he wanted to be valued and stuff like that. So definitely I don't think that's in the cards as well, because I'm sure the Castellinis don't forget that quote. I'm sure they're sitting there going like, yeah, we remember, we kept the receipts, as they say. So like, it's more like a nostalgia thing. It's the same kind of thing. I think a lot of people were like with Suarez, except Suarez hit 49 home runs last year. I think that's kind of the major difference, is that he still can still do it. He's not doing it at the levels that he did in 2021, like him and Nick Castellanos did for that 2021 Reds. And I think Ricky and I were even going to like have a podcast about how underachieving that 2021 team was, because that team had Castillo, that team had Tyler Mahle, that team had those two guys, and obviously Votto, not necessarily peak Votto, but like anyway, I think they won like 79 games, 80 games. Bad feelings. We're not trying to go back there. Sorry about that.
No, we're not. But your guy over here in your comments is correct. I was looking it up while you were talking. Yes, the Mets did claim him. Let me see here. I can even tell you who they. So this is the time, Roger, and I'm sure you know about this, that once everybody starts reporting, you can start putting players on the disabled list and opening up spots on your roster. So that's what the Mets did. They put Nunez. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name, but they put Nunez on the 60-day IL, and that made a 40-man roster spot, and they turned around and claimed Ben. So he's 100% right. I didn't realize that, but good job by you, sir. Thank you for adding that to the podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And yeah, Benny R, as Mario Posta calls it. For sure, it's interesting. I thought that when they added him, just to go a little bit of a tangent, I thought that was kind of even more of the end times for Tyler Stevenson, because he had been a guy that the Dodgers valued a lot. So when they DFA'd him, the Reds are like, yeah, we'll take a Dodgers guy off the waiver wire. And unfortunately, the way the roster went, they didn't have any space for him when they signed Suarez. So unfortunately, maybe what could have been, right, Mike? What could have been? We always have those kind of moments.
Could have been. We never know.
But yeah, any other thoughts about former Reds and different places they've been and whatnot?
No, we're good. I think we've covered it all, for at least for the time being.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of other things, a lot of roster movement through spring trading sometimes, and you'll see old faces, new places, and whatnot. But there is an old face in a new place at NBC Sports and their baseball coverage. I'm pretty excited about this aspect. I was kind of wondering what they were going to do with these guys. It was announced a couple weeks ago that Joseph Daniel Votto, Clayton Kershaw, and Anthony Rizzo were going to be under contract with NBC Sports, but they didn't say exactly what their role would be. And this past week, they kind of clarified that. They're kind of going to be the pregame in-studio hosts, not necessarily doing the play-by-play or color commentary on every single NBC game, but more kind of like the guys that, for lack of a better word, like, TNT had, Chuck Kenny and Shaq. Hopefully those guys can create some chemistry and whatnot, and maybe rib each other, since a lot of them had some battles over the years. But yeah, those guys are going to be leading the NBC coverage. Going to have their face probably plastered on advertisements and whatnot. What were your thoughts when you heard the news that Votto, Kershaw, and Rizzo are going to be the pregame guys and the studio hosts?
Man, I'm loving this. I really am. I'm assuming they're going to have one other person up there who's going to be more of the, the host guy, and the three of them sit over here off to the side, and they're like, "What do you think, Clayton? And what do you think, Joey? And what do you think?" Right? So, Anthony. But I'm really excited to see who that person is. I'm a little disappointed because I was kind of hoping that Votto would actually broadcast the game itself, because I really think he could move into that role pretty seamlessly. But it's going to be interesting to see who they do get, because they haven't announced who's going to be their play-by-play people yet. So, I used to love it when NBC would do, Joe Morgan and John Miller were the best. I would make sure I watched every Sunday night game just because of those two guys. Even if it was two crappy teams, I would still watch because I really thought that those two guys were entertaining. And I hope NBC Sports can find two more guys who are, I don't know if they'll be just as entertaining, because I really, really love Joe and John, but we'll see what they come up with.
Yeah, speaking of Joe and John, for their Sunday night baseball coverage, I believe those two guys were on the call the last time the Reds were ever on Sunday night baseball, if you believe that, back in like 2014 or what have you, around that range. So, what ends up happening is the Reds, like, everyone's kind of getting a chance to be on the Sunday night coverage, even though I think the Reds games technically are going to be like 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock starts. So they're going to be a part of the Sunday coverage for NBC, not necessarily the premier night game at like 7 o'clock. But I also heard that like mostly like ball players don't like playing on Sundays at 7 p.m. because of the fact that it's usually a getaway day and they may have a game the next day, or they're shortening up their rest for their Monday rest day. So my understanding is that Sunday night baseball is not maybe the best mechanism of at least on the player's perspective or whatnot. But for the fans' perspective, I think it's great. It's going to have, like we said, those three guys commentating on the game and whatnot. It will be interesting to see how much space they allow these guys to analyze. If it's going to, it's not like they have a halftime in baseball where they can, basically have 15 to 30 minutes to talk about the game and what happened and what the adjustments should be and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see like how they do the pregame, and I'm guessing they'll also do like some of the postgame stuff and breaking down what ended up happening and everything. I don't know. It should be exciting. I think when it first got announced a couple weeks ago, I definitely said that I was going to start watching Sunday night baseball again, not just because it's, on a different channel on NBC, but also because I think they're going to try to get people to come back and watch the game, right? They're going to try to put out, Joey Votto is like one of those guys that actually kind of had a personality in baseball, even though baseball kind of has a lot of, they don't like the bat flips and whatnot. That kind of old school mentality still a little less and less every passing year. But, and I think Rizzo is a pretty personable person as well. I'm not too familiar with Clayton Kershaw or what have you. I know he had his sending off year this year, and now he's going to have his send off World Baseball Classic, spot, which I don't know how much he's going to actually pitch, but it'll be interesting to hear his perspective, because he's probably one of the last great starters with Scherzer and Verlander of that kind of bygone era. So at least it's intriguing on its face. Now, when they get into it, like you said, will it be entertaining? Will it keep us coming back? Will it make me want to watch a Guardians versus Mariners on a Sunday where I could be doing something else? You know what I mean? That's kind of where they have to that's where the job starts for them, right? Is making you fall in love with baseball, and not just your team, right?
Yeah, so August 30th, 3 p.m., be the Reds and the Cubs. It'll be on NBC and Peacock. And then they also have the leadoff show now. It used to be on Roku TV or Roku, however you pronounce that. So NBC has both of those. And Cincinnati is going to have two games there. There'll be Washington Nationals on the 9th of August, and there'll also be August 23rd. The Reds are going to be at the Diamondbacks at 4 p.m. So, yeah, those are the different times that you'll be able to catch them. So the Reds in between those two schedules have three games. So, yeah, we'll see. And if I'm sure they can flex stuff out just like the NFL does all the time. So if the Reds, become a team to watch, maybe they'll flex some of those games out. I don't know exactly how that works. If they've already signed contracts and they said, we're going to broadcast these games and these are the only games we're going to broadcast. I don't know exactly how that works, but we'll see.
Well, Fox kind of does that. Fox had a game that the Reds got added to late in the season on a Saturday against the Brewers. I think it was the last series of the season, right? Like,
yes, if I remember right, that's correct. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I would like to think that they write in the contracts that they could flex that. I mean, it'd be interesting, right? Like how you say they do with the NFL. Like, you want to see the most compelling game in the prime time slots. You don't want to see, you know what I mean, the Marlins go up against the Nationals in August, and that game doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? So hopefully they have that ability. That'd be kind of cool to see the Reds flexed into some games if they're worthy, right? That's the other thing.
If they're worthy.
Because they could get the opposite treatment. They could get
they could get the Wayne's World treatment. They could, we're not worthy. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah. Any other thoughts on that baseball coverage? I'm excited, just like I think you are. So yeah, it'll be cool.
It's spring training. I'm excited regardless. So we're good, man.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, and I don't know. This is kind of the part of the show, Mike. I don't know if you got anything prepared. We usually try to get off any hot takes, anything that maybe burning a hole in your chest in terms of baseball, in terms of what have you, that maybe is something that's been lingering there. Like I said, the World Baseball Classic take, moving it to a different part of the calendar is something that I don't know if anybody's listening to this, to that in the MLB offices to really care, but I feel like, I don't know, hey, you put it in January too, and just put it all in like the Dominican where the weather is fine, except for maybe a hurricane weather or whatnot. But I don't know. The one take I had is that, where did it go? Oh, okay. So in a couple of years, I think is projected that there's going to be an expansion in baseball, right? They're trying to get to 32.
Okay. Yep.
Where they're going is kind of up for debate, right? Could be Portland to give Seattle a little bit closer geographical rival. Could be Nashville. Could be whomever, right? North Carolina, stuff like that. But I think when they go back to 16 in each AL and NL, I think we got to reinstitute interleague play. I obviously grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, and that was kind of the thing, and kind of a thing all the way back to, the olden days, the dead balls. Like the AL and the NL did not play each other. And if they ever did, it was special. It was in the World Series maybe only. It was maybe only for interleague play. I think we got to go back to a situation where I understand it's cool that everyone plays everyone. Like, that's fine, whatever. Like, I don't know if that exactly makes everybody happy, because you got to travel all the way to Seattle, and Seattle's got to travel all the way to Miami. You know what I mean? Like, there could be situations where it's just like, it doesn't make sense to play like this, right? I'm not saying we have to go completely regional, where I think they played like 50 to 60, like divisional games. Like, it felt like you played the Cubs and the Brewers like every other weekend in some situations during a way a calendar broke down. But I think if we go back to 32, we get 16 in each, AL and NL leagues. Let's just go back to making interleague special, where you're not seeing these guys as much, and when you do, it's kind of a big deal.
I think this. Let me throw something out here. So I'm gonna go off. I've got two of my own real quick, because I kind of thought we would do this, right? But I'm gonna piggyback off of you for a second. I think the interleague play should be the weekend after the All-Star game, right? That's not going to be as difficult for all the players to get from one side of the country to the other side of the country and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a reset, right? And then that's interleague weekend, where you have everybody play an interleague game for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday following the All-Star break. And I think that would be a nice momentum thing you could just carry right into the weekend. So that'll be the first thing. The second thing, I mentioned earlier that I thought maybe the Reds and Tyler Stevenson were a little bit at odds. I think the Reds are proving it to us. If you go over to their official X account, right? I know you're not on X, I don't think, Roger, right?
Not personally, no, but I run the Red Hot Reds account.
Okay, great. So if you go over, if you can go to our spot, which is at All Gloves Off SM. I'll direct you to two spots, two things that I've reposted. So the Reds have a really beautiful spring training poster that I'm going to try to get into a poster and take it to the games and try to see how many people I can get signed on it. Yeah. And who headlines the poster at the very top? Tyler Stevenson. Yes, and it even shows enough of him in his gear to where it says his name across it. He's the only one that has any kind of name whatsoever. No one else has any kind of name on this poster. So yes, and then the other thing, I love the St. Patrick's Day game that the Reds the Reds and Indians still do a tradition of. They wear green uniforms and all of those kinds of things. So you can also go over to our Twitter spot there, or X spot, whatever the heck people are calling it now, and the caps for the St. Patrick's Day game are there on our site. So I love the all black and green cap. I'm going to make sure that I get one of those. So I really love both of those things. I love that tradition that the Reds and the Guardians still do with the St. Patrick's Day game. I believe there's only two games that'll be done that way, where they keep that tradition, because Nike and all these other teams are like, no, we don't want to make 9 different uniforms for you, so let's not do that. And when the Reds signed, from my understanding, from when the Reds signed the agreement with Nike, they said, we are going to do the spring training game at spring training for St. Patrick's Day. We're going to keep that tradition alive. So I'll be there. And I haven't seen the uniform yet, but the hat is there on our X spot at All Gloves Off SM. Feel free to go over and check it out.
Yeah, they look nice. And yeah, that I knew the Reds like way back in the day for sure were like one of the first teams, I think, that did St. Patrick's kind of uniforms. And that's got to be, I don't know how many years, 70 some years. I feel like it was back in the 50s they started it, unless I'm getting it mixed up. But that's cool. That's good that they're keeping it alive.
Yeah, I like it.
So, yeah, I don't know. My other takes were like, just stop, Pirates. Like, I know Ricky, again, like, he likes to be a bit agitated. He posted the O'Neal Cruz playing the center field ball and just stopped and just let it go past him and just didn't hustle. You know, like I'm not excusing his behavior, but he likes to poke and
just
prod.
Poking the bear over there, isn't he?
And it makes me just go like, I don't know. Okay, so I'll say this: the Pirates have a chance to be good. I don't think they're better than the Reds, presently constructed. They would have to really achieve from what they were from 2025, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But just stop with the whole, like, the Pirates fans coming after Reds fans as if, like, our team isn't going to be good at all, and, like, sitting back and saying, oh, the Fangraphs thinks you guys are only going to win 79 games and we're predicted to win 81. Just stop, Pittsburgh. It's just, you guys haven't won in a long time. We haven't won in a long time too, but I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I just want them to know that predictions are there for a reason. They're not the games. They're there to fill up maybe some space for people who are looking for baseball content right now. They're there for the analytics people to run their numbers and get that all out and whatnot and publish it. But for me, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the way that they're being talked about on the internet, and maybe this is just my algorithm, they're way overhyped. Just stop. Just please stop. That's all I'm saying.
I'll give Pittsburgh the fact that they made some good moves in the offseason, but it's the offseason. And I'll give Pittsburgh the fact that they're getting some love from the Pacoda people and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's from the Pacoda people. Pittsburgh, get really close. Get really close over here. When you do something to us on the field, then I'll acknowledge you as a real team. Until then, shut up.
Exactly. That's how you said it a lot more succinctly than me. I tend to ramble and I can't get to the point sometimes. But yeah, that's just. We'll see you in early April. Actually, end of March, right? Don't start, like, it's the second series, so we'll see them right away. So, like, we'll see how it goes down then, and then we'll see who can talk smack and who gets all the what do you call it, braggers' rights or what have you.
There we go. We'll take them early, and because it's the second part of the season, right? That Sunday game is probably going to be Paul Skeens. So, yeah, we'll see your best right away, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I just,
Think about that, though, guys. for those of you who are listening, the first Sunday of the season will be Paul Skeens, Hunter Green. Yeah. Yeah, give that to me.
For sure. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it for sure. Sign me up for that, and hopefully we'll have all the bragging rights and be able to quiet all the Pittsburgh Twitter trolls out there, ex-trolls, whatever you want to call them. So, all right, Mike, any other hot takes you got for us?
No, I'm good, brother. Hey, I appreciate you having me on real quick. I mean, like we said earlier, I know that Ricky's little one is down and out right at the moment, so we're sending out our prayers for him so that he'll get healed and everything. And then I guess it's a mess back there in Ohio. You guys still have snow, right?
Yes and no. Funny you mentioned that. Today, I was able to get up on my roof and take off my Christmas lights for the first time because it's all starting to melt finally.
Okay.
It's there, but it's got like piles here, piles there, but it's eventually melting and it's supposed to get up to like 60 something this week.
Ooh, look out. 60. Look out.
Feeling like spring baseball's coming.
Yeah, for a day or two.
Yeah, obviously.
I used to live there. I know what it's like.
Yeah, in Ohio it could change given the hour. So right. We could go all, but at very least, like I said, I was able to unbury my Christmas lights from the snow. So that was a plus, and we're able to do that. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for coming on. I know it's short notice. Appreciate you being able to fill in and see their show tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Was it 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. Mountain time?
6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific. There you go. See, now you sound like me. I get the times all mixed up too. That's why I got Cheese on there for me. He keeps it all straight.
And he's in Central Time, so okay, it's all over.
Right.
We're all over the place. So, but yeah, check out their show tomorrow, Lights Out Podcast, Lights Out Sports Podcast, and really appreciate you coming on.
Of course,
we will hopefully see you soon. On
and of course, Sirboy was on at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, he was a late addition as well. We were calling in the arms. We're just Terry Francona getting all the relief pitchers we can get in there. Tony Santillan and Scott Barlow coming to the rescue. So
yeah, the now A's Scott Barlow, yes.
Oh, is he really with the A's? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he signed with the A's a few days ago, yes.
All right. Well, shout out to him. Hopefully he's got a baby. He had one last year, so he's got that dad strength now. And hopefully he'll be able to the A's Athletics. They're not even calling the Sacramento Athletics, right?
Well, they don't know what they're going to do because I guess they tried to get A's and Athletics. They tried to get Las Vegas A's, Las Vegas Athletics, and they can't get those names. Those names were taken. So now they're like, what are we going to do now? And so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think you should just call them the Aces and be done. But that's
Yeah, for the team formerly known as the Athletics.
Mm-hmm. Something, but I tell you what, though, that stadium looks beautiful.
Oh, the new one or the
new stadium looks really cool. I'm actually going to try to get out to Sacramento and see them at the Sacramento Stadium. I like the old looks of the old ballparks and stuff, and before they go into that new one, I'm going to try to make sure I get out there. Hopefully, when the Reds are playing out there, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think they went out there last year, so I think the A's are coming to us. So I might have to wait till 2027 if there's a season.
You and this if there's a season thing.
Yeah, sorry. You know how the baseball unions and the owners work. It's anyway. We can go into that for another couple hours, but before we do, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you check out Mike's show tomorrow, Tuesday night, Lights Out Sports Podcast, and we'll sign off for this. Mike, go Reds!
Go Reds!